Dr. Adamu, earlier on you were talking about the issue of vulnerability of most of the schools and which made them to be soft target. How do we begin to check all this, soft target? What can government do actually to ensure that these schools, the pupils are safe? Right now, about 41 government schools have been closed because of this latest development. You can imagine what impact it will have on the educational development of the pupils as well, which means that they are not going to school and they are become a challenge to themselves, to their family, and to the society. So how do we begin to revamp this?
And just to, further add to the predicament, we are adjudged to be the country with the highest number of out-of-school children before this incident started. Yeah. So that means, unfortunately, we're going to remain in that category.
Unfortunately.
We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The Safe School Initiative, for all intents and purposes, is a good initiative.
Yeah.
It comprises about two other very critical instruments. The Safe School Declaration, which we signed into, I think, in 2019 and was ratified in 2019. It's an internationally driven program that we signed up to, which, again, for all intents and purposes, it's excellent. The second one is the National Policy on Safe, Secure, and Violence-Free School, which was introduced in 2021. We brought the entire world to Abuja here, and on the sidelines of that event, we introduced this national policy on safe, secure, and violence-free school. And interestingly, with an implementation guideline. So we were aware that perhaps implementation would be a challenge. And so those who crafted that policy took time to bring up an implementation guideline. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The Safe School Initiative is an excellent piece of work. And in fact, from what I'm hearing, other parts of the world, including the developed Western world, is coming to Nigeria to learn. From that Safe School Initiative. So to respond to your question, what we need to do is to implement the Safe School Initiative. And one thing I would just like to add to Dr. Getso's intervention is the fact that it's not a federal government-driven program alone. It also has the component of the state governments. And so perhaps this is the time to, implement what we call this all-of-government approach. The 2 and 3 governments, actually, but education, as you know, is on the concurrent list, so all levels of government,
federal, state, and local.
And local do have a role to play. And in this instance, the number of private schools, I stand to be corrected in this, in Nigeria are probably more than the number of public schools
now
that we have. So that means private players too, proprietoresses and proprietors of schools would also have to join the Safe School Initiative. Now, there are several aspects of the Safe School Initiative divided into different roles. And just like Dr. Yahuza mentioned, it's a little bit amazing and surprising that the stewardship of that program was placed in the Ministry of Finance. And I'm hoping that you will invite that individual. I think she's an assistant director or deputy director, or maybe even a director now, because I haven't spoken to her in a while, so I'm not sure what position she is. I'm hoping you will invite her. Let her tell Nigerians how she's been able to manage that post, the post that was given to her to support the implementation of the program. And I can understand probably the philosophy behind giving the Ministry of Finance the stewardship because of funds. As you very well know, sometimes even if funds are budgeted, the release of those funds can be a challenge. So maybe that's why the Ministry of Finance was given that responsibility. But of course, the idea is that she would coordinate together with the Ministry of Education, together with civil society organizations. Interestingly, and I'm sure probably Dr. Getso would fall in this category. When I trained beneficiaries, trainees on the Safe School Initiative, it was a civil society organization that invited me, not even the government. It was in Kano, and they brought all the schools from the local governments in Kano, I think about 44 of them, and we trained them. Okay. So why I brought this up is there are layers of intervention under the Safe School Initiative. In terms of the physical security component, which speaks directly to your question, number one is the existence of physical perimeter fence. In the implementation plan, the dimensions of the fence is provided. The integrity of the fence is provided. So all the school committee needs to do, which is also envisioned under the program, is to pick up that implementation guideline and then seek to construct such a fence. The second part, which I think is also absolutely important in terms of what we need to do, there is a vulnerability assessment should have been conducted. And in today's world, that vulnerability assessment, I'm hoping, would be lying on a digital device, on a map, that I can pinpoint. If I'm interested in, let's say, my local government, which is Tambuwal in Sokoto, all I need to do is, the custodian of that document should be the civil defense. I should be able to just put my finger on Sokoto State, expand the map, and then bring out Tambuwal local government. Then I should be able to see all the schools in Tambuwal local government. Now, what was envisioned under the Safe School Initiative is that we would have levels of risk in terms of the vulnerability of those schools. So school A, good physical security posture. Level 2, as an example, maybe weak or medium physical security posture. Then level 3, non-existent physical security posture. So that tells me, as a state governor or as a local government chairman, if I want to improve security in my schools, I start from the bottom to increase. So that was what was envisaged under the plan. Now we've been told that by the civil defense that they have done that vulnerability assessment. They haven't shown, at least not to my knowledge, anyone. So I'm hoping that they will come.
They are not here because they were invited, actually.
Yeah, they told us that they've done it. That's repeatedly, I think.
But you don't have it on record.
It's not there. And even when you go online in an attempt to get it, you can't get it. So if in reality they've actually done it, they should present it so that it can be critiqued. The essence of that assessment is to assist in planning. It's useless to everyone if you've just done it and then you kept it to yourself. This third component is the rapid response and early warning systems that should have been implemented in schools. Now, we've been told by UNICEF in a report they did, I think, two years ago, that only 37% of the schools they audited have those early warning systems and across Nigeria. And I think the fact that we're dealing with a situation in Niger State, a situation in Kebbi State, would attest to the efficacy of that their report. If there were early warning systems, the students would probably have known what to do. The teachers too would have known what to do. Non-academic staff would have known what to do. The community itself would have known what to do. So why I took time
when you say would have known what to do, are you saying that because one of the things that some of the guests discussed last week, Wednesday, was that there is a need for the schools, the pupils, even the community to be trained on security,
So that was what was envisaged under the Safe School Initiative. All of these components, these layers, will be trained on what to do. As an example, a hibernation center. The school should be able to identify a hibernation center. They should be able to train these pupils to say, okay, if you hear this alarm, it means there is danger. It could be a security
So there should be a drill like...
Exactly. A drill that would inform every member of that community. Remember, there are students, there are academic staff, there are non-academic staff, there are vendors, there is PTA, parents. Every member of that school has a role to play. And under the Safe School Initiative, we should have trained them on what to do. And the amazing thing, Jumai, is that this is contained in the implementation guideline. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
So what's the problem that we're having?
Implementation
is key.
I know we've not reached the point for recommendation, but I would want you to invite the woman in question, who is in the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
It would be good to her, as well as the civil defense, to talk to Nigerians.
And we've been inviting the civil defense.
11 years since this program was initiated. And we're still discussing abduction of over 300 people. So Nigerians deserve an explanation. And more importantly, I'm hoping that the federal government would audit the program do an investigation, an independent one, not necessarily by the Minister of Education or by any of the active players.
Okay.
Set up a committee, and one that would have the authority to look into critical aspects. How much was disbursed in terms of funds? Who got those funds? What did they use those funds? Because I've heard the woman in question. I've heard her mention the amounts she's given to the different stakeholders, Ministry of Education, even civil society organizations, and they are in billions.
144 billion.
That's just one component of it. When it was started, the money that was envisaged, I don't want to go into that, but let's just suffice to say we need to audit that program.
Okay.